And so the streets shall run red with the blood of my enemies. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, sneak peek number 3 for the March update is here. It is a symbiote takeover. Yes, it is. I thought it was gonna be a Sinister 6 update, a Sinister Syndicate update. No. Toss that out the window. Okay, Green Goblin got himself a Carnage symbiote uniform. We are getting Red Goblin. The time has finally come. I'm excited. This is what people wanted. Tier 3 Green Goblin. In case you missed it at the very beginning of the trailer, right here on the building off to the side, we have T1, 2, 3. Yes, sir. Green Goblin is finally getting tier 3. Listen, I would have loved it if he was getting tier 4, because tier 4 Red Goblin would be amazing, considering the fact that even Spider-Man can't take down Red Goblin. Spider-Man just got tier 4, so it would have been cool if Red Goblin was also getting tier 4. But you know what? It is what it is. This has major implication for the game. Green Goblin has been one of the most useful characters in the game for a little while now, and this is gonna skyrocket its value. It's been a while since I've used these words, but I'm gonna tell you right now, this Red Goblin uniform is definitely gonna be a must buy, regardless of where you are in the game, new player or veteran. This is gonna be one of those that you absolutely gotta have, just because of the fact that, or at the very least, you're gonna need to get him to tier 3, because he's gonna offer so much utility to your roster. I'm excited to see how much they're going to actually put into him this time around, because last time they made Green Goblin so OP at tier 2 that they had to put off giving him tier 3 until now. Like, it's actually mad. So he might be hitting like tier 4 at tier 3, or they might balance him so he's just an average tier 3 character. So much to speculate on. But before we get into any of that, Agents, the supervillain who puts the city in terror with his newly acquired alien weapon, has returned. The streets shall run red with blood. Check out the new look and powers of this supervillain who is bonded with the Carnage symbiote. Yes, sir. And we get unfortunate news. These guys are sticking to the old formula. It's kind of boring, but I'm gonna accept it just because they're at least giving people one of the things that they really wanted. One of the most highly anticipated tier 3 and uniform combination, Green Goblin becoming the Red Goblin and finally getting his tier 3. But this actually leaves us in a very interesting position with Craven, and also what direction they're gonna take Green Goblin in. So we'll talk about it a little bit more, but it says we will announce more information through the update details later. So they're sticking with the 3 sneak peek formula, and they're going to drop the update, and then in 2 weeks they're going to do 2 more sneak peeks. I don't know if we're getting Kang the Conqueror this update or not. It's kind of a bummer. Maybe they're trying to save Kang for the anniversary update in April, because they don't have anything bigger planned for the anniversary. That's kind of a bummer too. I was hoping that the anniversary would be a really good time to rework Shadowland, rework Alliance Conquest, rework Alliance Tournament, rework Timeline Battle, take the game in a more PvP centric future fight. But it seems like they're probably just gonna stick with an old formula that's worked for the past 7 years. It's kind of dying now, but they want to stick with the old because that's what brought them some success. That being said, let's jump into the game and let's have a discussion here about Green Goblin and his future, because he's definitely going to be one of those characters that you absolutely have to have because of this Oz formula tier 2 passive, which gives you 45% extra damage to heroes and villains. It will be very interesting to see if they add on to this with Red Goblin, maybe give him some damage reduction, or even changes and make it so it only applies to Red Goblin, make him more self-centric, and also allow this uniform to hold value, because just by getting Green Goblin to tier 3, he's probably going to remain as the speed villain meta. I don't see Kraven passing him unless they do something extraordinary because of this amazing leadership and tier 2 passive combination. And speaking of this leadership, I want you guys to keep in mind that the majority of the villains in the game, they don't natively have ignore dodge built into their kit, so they generally suffer against Ultron, Gore, and Null, especially when you consider the fact that there's no ignore dodge striker in the game that's actually a villain. So when you go into World Boss Legend and you're climbing and you go up to these stages, if you're using a character that is level 70 and they don't have ignore dodge, guess what? You have no ignore dodge striker. So getting access to Green Goblin at tier 3, that's gonna help all these villains hit a little bit harder, hit their procs more consistently. That alone is gonna make him a must buy if you have a lot of villains that you want to start using in World Boss Legend against specific bosses. But that's not all. There's also Giant Boss Raid. Green Goblin's tier 2 passive and leadership combination is now going to be available for Giant Boss Raid, and that's going to be a big help for some of your villains. And all of that is assuming his damage as Red Goblin is mediocre. If his damage as Red Goblin is amazing, he's just going to be even more of a must-have character, which is kind of crazy. And then to go even further, keep in mind that we still have the Dark Avengers uniform, which gives a buff to all of your Dark Avengers allies, like Sentry when Sentry finally gets a new uniform and a tier 4. Ares can also benefit from this. Moonstone can also benefit from this. So him getting a tier 3 actually helps a lot of different characters and himself. One thing that I have to keep in mind here, and I want you guys to pay attention to the fact that Green Goblin has been speed, blast, and combat. So I'm curious to see what they're gonna do this time around. Base Green Goblin is a speed character, and then they turned him into a combat character for the ultimate Green Goblin. And then for Dark Avengers, he actually became a blast character, and then he reverted back to speed. So I'm wondering this time around what they're going to do for him, because if they make him a combat villain, I don't think he's going to be as popular as a DPS, just because we have Namor, Carnage, Hulk. He's gonna be able to buff them, which is really cool, but he's gonna be in direct competition for ABX and ABL, and I don't see him outscoring Namor or even Dr. Octavius, who's also getting tier 4. So my guess is they're gonna keep Green Goblin as a speed character, and that would be for the best. Now I am curious to see what they're gonna do for Green Goblin's skill set this time around. Obviously he's not gonna be on the glider, or maybe he will be on the glider, who knows. My curiosity is kicking in though, because he currently doesn't have damage accumulation and he hits really hard already. He's also super proc friendly with a couple skills that you can delay cancel. So I hope they keep him very similar to what he is right now, where he has skills that are chainable, easily to cancel, very much so proc friendly. Even though I'm using him with a judgment, you can use him with a destruction, an energy, a regular proc, and he'll work perfectly fine in this uniform. And I'm curious to see what the difference in damage is going to be between No Way Home and the Red Goblin. Hopefully it's a sizable increase in damage to make it actually worth buying that uniform if they actually keep the passives exactly the same. Now I hate to have to say this, but if Green Goblin remains as a speed character in his Red Goblin uniform, I'm wondering how they're gonna actually entice people to buy the uniform for Kraven, outside of the super fans like me that one, love Kraven, and two, just want to be able to play with absolutely every character for as many forms of content as possible. I'm hoping that they do something cool for Kraven, maybe give him like debuff removal for the Sinister Six, or if they want to create a Sinister Syndicate tag. I don't think they should. I think the Sinister Six tag is good enough. That's one thing I'm also curious about, because Green Goblin doesn't currently have the Sinister Six tag, so I wonder if they're actually going to give that to him this time around, because even on his base version he doesn't have that, and I guess he doesn't necessarily need to have the Sinister Six tag because he has his own leadership, so you don't really need to rely on Electro's leadership to buff him, even though it's slightly better, but the ignore dodge is more valuable in certain pieces of content. However, moving back to Kraven, it would be cool if they gave him like debuff removal to villains, so something like what Wasp has, but make it more exclusive to villains or the Sinister Six. I was thinking about it today, and it would be really cool if they did something like what they did for Shadow Shell here. So Sinister Six allies, they get damage reduction and extra defense, and then just combine that with like the Wasp tier 2 passive and put that that on Craven. And I promise you, even if Craven has trash damage and trash survivability, people would buy that uniform, especially if you make it so it applies to all villains. Just think about it.